this is Ingrid-Oliver, aka Osgood, and you're listening to Mark Who 42.
Welcome to Mark Who 42. That's right, Mark Who 42, the Doctor Who online radio show / podcast. Yes, I must say / podcast because you could be listening there. I'm your host, Mark-Baumgarten, and with me today are...
Trish-helm.
Can someone help me out here? Did I miss something? Patricia, are you all right?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. Who else do we have?
Hi, everybody. My name is Basil Disco.
Basil Disco. Okay, Basil Disco. Good.
And my name is Ernst Stavro Freyre.
Yeah, we're in a Spectre mood today.
Well, James Bond is another British icon.
Oh,
from
he
pop culture.
is, and he is a Time Lord, and I can explain it to you because as I was explaining to my family yesterday how it all ties together. Christian Basil will be coming along later on during this show when they do their review of the Zygon-invasion, inversion, tomato, whatever you want to call it. We're reviewing both episodes that were just on the last 2 weeks, but first...
Thus, my name is Ernst Stavro Blofeld of Spectre. We now present to you the news from Mark Who 42 correspondent Patricia Helm. While you're listening, please put in the gross national product of each of your nations into the numbered Swiss bank accounts, or we will detonate one of 2 nuclear warheads that we recovered from the downed spy plane.
Unless you deliver $1 million.
You had to Austin Powers it. You had to.
I did. I liked Spectre. I thought the cameo of Mr. Bigglesworth before the accident was great. Spectre.
Now.
I enjoyed that. Trish,
The best Blofeld line is from Never Say Never. For Your Eyes Only. He's begging for his life, and he's on the helicopter. Please, Mr. Bond, we will do you a deal. I will buy you a delicatessen.
But you know that that's technically not Blofeld. He was credited as man in a wheelchair.
It was.
It wasn't the man in a wheelchair.
They didn't have the rights to, but they were there.
Blofeld. They couldn't get, yeah.
Anyway, Doctor Who.
Yeah, Doctor Who. Trish, news now, please. Thank you.
Okay. Well, ratings for Doctor Who have been all over the place.
All over the place.
They went up a little bit for The Girl Who Died and The Woman Who Lived.
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming that's probably because of Maisie Williams being
Ariana
in it. They drag in a lot of, Game of Thrones.
People were hoping that they were talking about Clara. Oh, Clara's going to die. Let's watch this episode.
Believe
me, I was thinking that exactly. Right there with you.
She's with us till the end.
She is. I got, let me interrupt here. I got a tweet about our ragging on Clara. I got a tweet that basically said, can't we give it up? We should stop, just say it once and move on. Well, you know what I say to that? Horse patooey. I'm sorry.
Mark, did you transform into like a 90-year-old prospector? It's a load of horse patooey.
Yes, I did.
I've lived long enough that if I wants to rags on the Claras, I can rags on the Claras. Where do you young whippersnapper?
This guy even went as far as saying that we could not possibly like Doctor Who because we find so much negativity in it. To you, sir, I say, well, I already said it, but we love Doctor Who here at Mark Who 42. We just don't like Clara, and that's our right, our opinion, the end. Okay.
Well, and if I may also add to that, Mark, just because you're a fan of something, just because you love something, and I have said this, by the way, in a previous episode, so to this person who sent the tweet, you got to go back and do your research. You can love something, but that doesn't mean that everything that comes out of it is absolutely perfect. Oh my God, we love it so much.
Yeah.
You can find something you don't like and call it out.
Definitely.
There is no sin in that. So,
and there's no
it just so happens that we're calling out Clara.
There's no law saying that we can only say it once. We say it many times because we are that vehement about it. But we love Doctor Who. Especially, I'm sorry, Peter Capaldi in Zygon-inversion that you're going to be talking about later on, it was so amazing, his speech, and you'll be talking about that. I know you will. But my God, Doctor Who is better than ever in spite of having Clara.
Right, now can we get to the news?
Yes,
I think,
we can get to the news. Trish?
I think poor Patricia's been holding like a,
sorry, Trish.
holding like,
I'm sorry,
like
Petronella.
all the news.
Well, speaking of Clara, Moffat has said that Clara will be gone forever. Of course, he lies, but I like it that he's saying that.
Yeah.
He says, literally, I have nothing in mind for Clara. She's vanished from the fictional universe forever. But I think what she's going to do by the end of the series will shock, horrify, and surprise you in roughly that order. And Peter Capaldi, he said that it's not quite what you think is going to happen. You think what's going to happen is going to happen, and then something else happens. That's what's wonderful about Doctor Who. It's always clever the way these things are done. It's not quite as straightforward as it appears. It says to get your hankies ready, it's sad over a number of weeks.
I don't think the five of us are going to have to get our hankies ready. I think we're going to.
I don't think so.
I think we're going to have our party hats and our.
It's you know what?
Champagne
if it hurts the Doctor, and if it's written as well as last night, then I may even have some pangs because I'll feel sympathy for the Doctor, and I'll feel sympathy. Yeah. And honestly, I feel sympathy for the character of Clara because even her character, it's not necessarily her fault. Again, I lay this down on the thing I've said before. Like Moffat and Davies, they have their curious favorites, and I think they love them too much at times, and they invest too much plot armor into them at times, and that's just what gets my cosmic goat on it ultimately. So I don't want Clara to die horribly. I just want her character to go away, and I'm ready for a new companion that's going to challenge Capaldi's Doctor in different ways and bring a fresh perspective.
Yes.
And we're just overdue for a new companion.
We are. She is one of the longest-running companions that Doctor Who has had in terms of years.
Yeah, I kind of side with Patty in the sense that if it's a really well-written exit, we may rag on Clara, but if they bring out their A game, we may actually feel sad to see her go. And I will say, if that's what they're planning, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Because, if you can actually get somebody to be sad to see something they don't like gone, then you have really earned your pay.
Yeah.
So, and also what was being said, that it's not what you think, I'm actually curious because, I really, part of me doesn't want Clara to be killed off. Just as long as whatever happens takes her off the board, then that's fine. Like, I don't, I may spew the Clara hate, but I'm not like, die. I want to see her decapitated and then have both the head and the body turn to ash. It's like, no, just, if she's leaving, then just close the door.
Right.
Close the door and lock it.
The official synopsis for Face the Raven, which, is the 10th episode, the one that's been rumored to be her last episode, maybe. It says that the Doctor and Clara, with their old friend Rigsy, find themselves in a magical alien world, hidden on a street in the heart of London. Sheltered within are some of the most fearsome creatures of the universe, and a shielder, that's Maisie Williams' character, with a death sentence hanging over their heads. Not all of the intruders will get out alive.
Okay.
Maybe?
All the bets say that it's Claire's going to die, but who's to say Rigsy's safe?
She's not going to die. She'll evolve into some crazy cosmic being and become one with the universe, or
probably something like that, or just
where she affects every living creature.
Oh, because that's Moffat, right?
Yes, she will ascend or evolve or something or whatever. Yeah, there's no way she's gonna get she'll get a bittersweet ending when she leaves the Doctor. You know, it might be something crazy like, well, I have to do this and I have to remove myself and I'll never be in your timeline again, Doctor, or whatever. You know, there'll be a weepy speech, something this way. But I don't think she's going to get run over by, you know, a Hulkbuster Cyberman or anything like that.
I'd actually like to see that. I'm going to have to run to DeviantArt, see if anybody's drawn that. I'm sure somebody's done Hulkbuster Dalek by now, but I don't know if they did Hulkbuster Cyberman. To Google!
Oh. Well, since we're talking about companions, since we recorded last, we had some awesome news from Big Finish.
Oh, yeah?
That 10th Doctor and Donna are coming back for some audio dramas.
All right.
David Tennant and Catherine Tate. They're not going to be released until May of next year, but there's going to be 3 full episodes that are going to be coming out. One called Technophobia, and the second one is called Time Reaver, and then the third one is called Death and the Queen.
Can you tell us a little about these episodes?
Well, sure. Well, Technophobia, it says it's set in a slightly futuristic London where mankind is gradually losing its ability to use everyday technology. Can there be an evil force at work? Sounds like my mom and a bunch of her friends.
So essentially they become like, you know, older people going, you know, we can't figure out these interweb thingies. How do we do this? How do we figure out this UE tube? I don't know. Wait a minute. Shopping online?
Enough with the old folk talk.
Well, Time Reaver, that's the second adventure. The description for that says an entirely mechanical planet. Catch, hitch, fuel, fix, buy pretty much any kind of transportation in existence. It's also a world full of scoundrels, where a deadly black market has opened up in a device known only as the Time Reaver. Yes.
You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Oh, no. Star Wars fever hits the Mark 42 universe.
No, it hit a long time ago.
Come on. Wait, you think it just now hit? Are you kidding me?
Well...
God, remember when we had Rusty
Patty,
Goblin?
what do you think about this Star Wars thing that they're trying to bring out in this December thing?
I think people are setting themselves up for a terrible fall, just like they did in '99.
Me too. We had a bad Jar Jar Bink attack, possibly.
Star Wars is a whole different subject. My whole thing is that I'm guarding myself, and I choose not to be exuberant about it until I've seen it. And that's.
I agree. I'm 100% on that.
Hell no. You know what? This is where Trish and I have to break. We are super excited. We are going to be there opening night. We are going to be cheering. Okay, come on. This is Abrams has shown off that he is one of us, that he's a fan. So, you know, I have high hopes.
And that explains Star Trek.
What?
And that explains Star Trek.
Well, he's not a fan of Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just take a job, but I don't actually like it. Okay.
Yeah, see, exactly. This is him proving himself in order to get Star Wars. So, you know, and plus he's not doing the third of the new Star Trek universe movies, so you know, it might get better.
Okay.
I can't get into this. This is too big of an ocean for me to go into, but I could talk quite at length a great deal about Abrams and what he did to Star Trek and why I'll never forgive him. But anyway, Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
This is what I love about you, Patty. You're such a happy person. You have loving thoughts about everyone.
The last adventure of the 10th Doctor is called Death and the Queen, and the description for that says that Donna is swept along in a fairy tale romance and meets the man of her dreams in the beautiful land of Goratania. What can possibly go wrong? And why has the Doctor never heard of Goratania?
Well, because there are an infinite amount of planets in the Whoniverse, and even a Time Lord can't know every single planet in the Whoniverse. So, yeah, that's my answer.
He has had, I think at this point, he's had, 1,000-something years to...
2,000. He's over 2,000 years of experience.
No, this is the 10th Doctor.
Oh, the 10th Doctor.
We're in the 10th Doctor.
He's had over 1,000. Yeah, 1,000.
You know, 1,000 and change years, so, you know, yeah, the universe is vast and infinite, but, you know, in about 1,000-something years...
You guys are wrong. He's only 906.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, at least that's what he claims.
Yeah, he lies. No, actually, Matt Smith lies, but okay.
as you get older, you fudge your age. You turn 32 a couple of years in a row.
I'm mildly curious as to what would be Big Donna's dream man.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the guy from the library episode.
My question is, Mark, since we have you here, you'd be the one to answer this.
Okay.
This is the first time any of the new series doctors have done anything with Big Finish, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, David Tennant's done Big Finish, but not
right. But I'm saying this is the first time we've had a new series doctor as the lead.
Yes.
Okay. There's a part of me that wants these adventures to do really well because I'd love the door to be open for, maybe some audios with Matt Smith and Karen Gillan.
Eccleston.
Yeah.
Because Eccleston has a problem with the BBC. He doesn't have a
exactly.
problem with Big Finish. So
exactly. We could have, what we could have, I mean, God willing, we could have round 2 of what happened with Colin Baker in the sense that they had a problem with the BBC, but here comes Big Finish to say, hey, we're not the BBC. People love the Ninth Doctor. Come on back.
I mean, the War Doctor starts this month in November, so we do have it open.
Yeah, heck, what would be great is, how about some Big Finish adventures of 9 on the Titanic, 9 at Krakatoa, 9 at the JFK assassination?
Yeah.
9 those photos?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Just an idea?
Just an idea.
Throwing it out there?
Trish?
So some news about the sonic sunglasses. According to Moffat, the sonic screwdriver will be back in the future. That they're just having fun with the sonic sunglasses right now.
Okay.
Oh, thank God.
Are we having fun with it?
Well, what did Osgood say in this episode? She said, aren't they kind of useless, like a visual hearing aid?
It was a good line.
This is why I love Osgood.
I'm calling it. River Song is going to destroy them.
Yes.
Yes. She's gonna grab them, throw them in the air, shoot off, and then she's gonna pull out a new sonic screwdriver and here, what's this? It's like something you gave me a long time ago to give to you.
I agree. I think that's probably what's going to do it. It's going to be River. River is going to be the one. You've called it, Patrick. I think you are completely right on this one.
Hopefully she'll even throw in some line about, sweetie, what have I told you about your obsession with certain articles of clothing? Something like that.
Accessory, it's not clothing.
Accessory. Well, first it was the Fez.
I've got question marks on my underwear. What else do you want?
Well, have you guys heard? Did you guys hear that Warner Brothers and BBC are negotiating a deal so that Doctor Who could be in the next Lego movie, the sequel?
Yes. I'm sorry, but you know what? Once again, I'm going to throw something out here and pray that the gods love me enough. I'm really hoping that in the Lego movie that the Doctor will be represented by Capaldi, but that somewhere in there they will have some joke about regeneration. I mean, something where the Doctor gets blasted and they're like, oh no, it hit the Doctor! But then the Doctor just pops the head off, puts in another head, and then all of a sudden there's Peter Davidson or there's Sylvester.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Chances are if they do this, it would be Capaldi and then they'd get Matt Smith or David Tennant. But honestly, I would hope they go for the gold and we either have
Tom.
Well, I would love the Tom, but any classic Doctor would do it for me. Come on, let's have Sylvester in there.
Yeah.
Let's have Peter the First. Let's have Colin. Let's have Paul. They're alive. They're reachable. Come on. Phil Lord and his partner. Come on. Come on, you guys.
Has everybody seen the video where it shows the Doctor from the game in action and
we saw that. We saw that last night.
Yeah, I saw it this morning. It's brilliant. And yes, they do have sound bites from all the Doctors, actual dialogue of them. So it's one of my biggest fears was, okay, he may look like Shotton, but it'll still be doing Capaldi sound bites. No, it looks like they have sound bites from all the Doctors and even the inside of the TARDIS is correct to each Doctor.
I loved how the first and second Doctor's TARDISes are in black and white.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Awesome.
Yes. It's really well researched. It's really well done.
Well, good.
And then when they go to the Eighth Doctor, it goes total Victorian.
I like that they even had the War Doctor in there. What I think would really be awesome if they wanted to add to the Doctor Who part of Lego Dimensions, what would be really cool is in the expansion pack where you could add the Peter Cushing Doctor to that.
Well, if you're going to add Peter Cushing, then you also got to have the Blackadder Doctor, too.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, hey, there you go. Have it Call it something like the Doctor Unbound or something, and you could add the Peter Cushing Doctor, Rowan Atkinson,
and Stream of Shalka Doctor.
There you go. See, we got something going here.
We do.
Somebody. Okay, does anybody know how to contact Lego? We got to get in touch with Lego. Anybody from Lego listening? Hey, give us a call. Come on, we got a cool idea for another Doctor expansion.
My only disappointment in that, I had my fingers crossed. I was hoping so much that for Baker's Doctor, we were going to see the alternate control room. The wooden paneling and stuff.
Patrick, that's why expansion packs were made. Okay,
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Okay, you know what? We didn't get it this time. We could get it in the future. Relax, Patrick.
I mean, Sylvester McCoy comes with his umbrella. What's even more awesome than that?
Yeah, there you go.
Now, as far as the Lego movie goes, they haven't said much about it, like whether it would just be a cameo like Han Solo and the Chewbacca one was in the last one, or whether he would be like Batman, would be like a permanent character, right. Which I think that would be cool because with all his regenerations, that could be like a running gag, I guess, through the whole movie.
Yeah, I would love for him to do that. And also, too, that means there'd be no excuse not to give all the existing doctors to do the voices, even if it's just a random line reading here and there,
Exactly. That was where my mind was going towards, Patrick. Exactly what you just said. That would be awesome. And what better way to promote Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Yep.
And not in the Lego movie. And also, now we heard that, what Moffat said that Peter Capaldi's not leaving. He's not going anywhere. And he says the show's going to last for at least 5 more years.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure how he can guarantee 5 years, but all right.
Well, he says he's seen the business plan. Yeah. It's not going anywhere.
There you go.
Speaking of business plan, have you heard about BBC shops in England that not just the iPlayer now, but they have a way to download a lot of their programming from the 60 years of the BBC? It costs money, but you can download it as long as you live in England, and then you can listen to it anywhere in the world if you bring it on a device or something. And it doesn't disappear in 30 days like it does on the iPlayer.
I had not heard about that.
Yeah, so instead of buying a DVD, a Doctor Who DVD or Blu-ray, you can download the episode digitally onto your computer legally if you live in England.
Wow.
But BBC is going to do a Netflix-like service in a streaming service in the United States as well in the next couple of months. They're going to be starting that. I don't think it'll have everything that they have for the 60 years in the pay, because it'll be, a subscription. But we are going to be getting a BBC iPlayer sort of software or website in America in the next couple of months.
Was Doctor in the House a Beeb show?
No, Doctor in the House was Thames Television, which would be ITV.
Damn.
Well, now here's a story that I was really happy when I heard. Because there was this whole rumor going around the next series was going to only be a half series. Mm-hmm. Because Peter Capaldi had stuff he wanted to do. He was getting tired. Whatever the reasons. Well, Moffat said that that's crap and that they are making a full series.
Yeah, the mirror struck down again. Once again, the mirror.
12 episodes plus a Christmas special, but he says he doesn't know when it's going to air next year.
Someone looked at Capaldi and said, he looks tired.
Yeah, doesn't he look tired?
Doesn't he look tired?
It's like he's supposed to look like that.
He's supposed to look like that, exactly.
But one thing that I noticed in the Zygon-invasion, did you notice that 12 pulled a Harriet Jones?
Yeah, he did.
He came into that unit base and was just like, I'm the president of the world. Yes, we know who you are.
Yeah.
Yep. That's all the news I have. I have some birthdays, though.
Birthdays! I love birthdays!
Lay him on us.
Well, on October 28th, I know we're past that, but it was Matt Smith's birthday. And we have to mention Matt Smith.
How old is he? 12?
He's 12 years old.
12 years old, yes. No, he's 33. Close enough.
Yeah, that's pretty young.
And as we record this, tomorrow, November 9th, is Ian Hallard's birthday.
Oh.
Ian!
Wow.
Friend of the show.
We had Ian on the show. Ian's a friend of Mark Who 42. Happy birthday, Ian.
We'll have to be checking the social medias to see how Mark Gatiss surprises Ian.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be something.
Oh, yeah.
And coming up on November 10th, we have Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman.
Oh,
well, that'll be some party.
Oh, man. That's... Oh, jeez.
And then finally on November 4th...
He has a wife and a girlfriend. They have a thing.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
yeah, they do, yeah.
Somehow I'm not surprised.
I don't know. Alan Moore had the same arrangement, so I don't know. It must be a thing among,
It's a comic thing.
Comic book British writer.
Yeah,
thing.
British. Well, I think Alan Moore needs it because he needs like double the helping to like I don't know make him smile.
Alan.
God, I always every interview that I
they dumped him. they went up on their own. They dumped him and they took the kids. So he's been remarried. He remarried that American cartoonist. I forgot her name. Pat somebody.
Yeah, but I mean, geez,
And then finally on November 14th, we have Paul McGann.
Oh wow, another friend of the podcast.
Number 8.
And Paul McGann is going to be at MegaCon Fan Days, which we'll talk about at the end of the show, but he's going to be there on November 21st and 22nd in Orlando, Florida at the Orange County Convention Center. We'll be talking about that later. Wow. Happy birthday, Paul.
And that is all the birthdays we have and all the news.
All right. Well, then, without further ado, we're going to go take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we are going to have Christian Basil. We are going to have Ed, Trish, and Patty review the Zygon-invasion and the Zygon-inversion. And I love those titles. We'll be right back after this.
Sounds like the Zygons are trying to break into the perfume business.
It does, doesn't it?
Have you tried Invasion? This is our new scent for the holidays. Inversion.
I've tried Inversion. It smells so pretty.
Smells like the Loch Ness Monster's something.
Yeah. It's something to do with the milk that they need. We'll be right back after this.
Hi folks, this is Christian Basil, Mark Who 42, and if you've been lucky enough to catch us at conventions and wondered how you could hire us to come to your convention or special event, simply go to Heroes on Hand, click the podcast icon, and click the icon for Mark Who 42. On our page on Heroes on Hand, you can actually click the button that says click here to book Mark Who 42 for your next event, and that's all you have to do. Once again, if you wanted to hire us for your next event, simply go to heroesonhand.com, click on podcast, click on our icon, and click the green button to book us for your next event. You're going to love us. We'll see you there.
Kid? Yes? Shut up.
Beyond the Night is the GCRN's latest review podcast. We are covering everything in the Knight Rider television universe, from the classic 80s TV series to the 1991 reunion film, Team Knight Rider, and the 2008 relaunch series as well. So join TFG and Mike and Dion the Music Man as they go in-depth and Beyond the Night only on Geekcast Radio Network. You can find Beyond the Night in iTunes and on www.geekcastradio.com.
Kid?
Yes, Michael.
Just keep driving.
Now for a behind-the-scenes look at Geekcast Radio Network's newest show, Talking in Circles.
That was good. So, Chuck, Greg, what are you guys thinking for this week's show?
Well, Dan, how about we just talk about the things that we've read or watched this week?
We do reviews like that every week, Chuck. How about a game like Fact or Fiction or The Power of Names? Those are great, and we're always coming up with new ideas for games. And how about some top fives? You know how I love my top fives.
What about tournament-style brackets, or sequel, reboot, and destroy, who will win in a fight, taking too far, crazy but true news, or...
Yes, it appears we have lots of things to work on.
Listen to Talking in Circles, taking timeless topics in new directions, every Tuesday on iTunes or GeekCastRadio.com, the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hey, Dan, who's the guy with the creepy voice?
Hi, this is Jason Connery, and you're listening to Mark Who 42. Listen and learn more.
And welcome back to Mark Who 42. We're taking you to the Hooniverse and beyond, but at this moment, we're just going to take you to the Hooniverse. So we're actually doing a little something for you guys. We're doing a double review with the Zygon-invasion and the Zygon-inversion, or conversion, or perversion, or whatever you want to call it. We got those 2 episodes there.
Not to be confused with the Zygon Inquisition.
What a show! The Never mind. Anyway,
well, no, it would go like
The Inquisition. Wanna show the Inquisition? Here we go.
Anyway, let's get back. We'll go ahead and start with the first episode, the Zygon-invasion. And I'm going to open the floor to everybody. Trish, what do you think? What was your feeling about the Zygon-invasion?
Well, I liked how it started. I liked how it started with the recap of what happened in the 50th. It was just like, oh my God.
Like the intro was like, there's 3 doctors, and there's 2 Osgoods, and there's one
peace treaty.
One peace treaty. Yeah, I love that little homage back to Day of the Doctor. That was a little fun there. Patty, what was your take on it? What did you think?
Yeah, I was a little nervous at first because I guess almost for the same reasons I think Trish got excited. I was just like, oh boy, is this going to be kind of self-serving of, hey, everybody, we're going to squeeze in as much as the more popular doctors as we can in the beginning, and then we'll get to the ugly old one in a minute. But it was actually, as far as a recap goes, I thought it was actually very well written, very well edited, because you didn't need to see the 50th to get the gist of what you needed to understand for this episode. And so that went on from there. On the whole, they're getting better at linking these two-parters. Before, my biggest criticism about these two-parters always were that the first one was really treading water and nothing really seemed to happen until the second one. But this felt like a complete story from part 1 to part 2. We'll get to part 2 later, but that's... Right. That was my biggest observation.
And it felt like some of the two-parters that we were getting to, some of them could have been standalones. It's like, why did we even have the first parter in the first place?
Exactly.
Did anybody...
So things happen in the first one that really don't relate to the second one, and it's just kind of like, it's just a protracted first act. This felt like, okay, things are happening, these are going, and they meshed well with the second episode.
Now, Ed, there was a lot of criticism about Day of the Doctor, about the Zygons. They felt like they were throwaway monsters that they just threw in there because we had to have something from the classic series. What was your take on the 50th episode with the Zygons, and as opposed to what currently these two-parters had with them?
Well, as far as that criticism, I'd have to say that, yeah, that's unfounded. First of all, it was great having the Zygons back. It was great having another classic monster back. Secondly, the criticism's unfounded, I think, because if you look at it, you needed that story with the Zygons in order to give the War Doctor and 11 and 10 the idea that, maybe there is another way. Maybe there's a way to solve things without, violence and genocide. Something that actually came back in part 2 of this. As for part 1, I thought it was a strong first half, although there were a couple of issues. I did have a couple of issues with a couple of scenes that I think we'll be getting to.
Trish, what do you think about I'm now dubbing them the Osgood sisters. What do you think about them at least coming back? We'll go into the inversion about that, but as far as the invasion's concerned, what do you think about the Osgood sisters coming into this story?
I thought it was a neat twist, although, as it goes on, we find out that Moffat decided to change the rules on how Zygons work, and so...
That we know of right now.
We know of right now, yeah, and it was just... well, Osgood's, awesome. My cosplay is her, and so obviously I like her. And
you're not the only one from all the pictures I've seen. Osgood has been like a running thing. Even there's a Facebook site called Osgood Lives, and I'm sure they're geeking out over that little ditty from last night, but we'll continue on there. We won't give too much.
She was awesome in both of these episodes. I mean, it showed how much she's really grown, as a character. And
wait, how much Osgood has grown, or how much her Zygon has grown?
Oh, who cares? But
they did keep hammering it in quite often that it was just, look, you're not going to get, and I think it was kind of curious too about the pairing of what's your first name. I really think Moffat did this clever job of inferring, look, we're never going to tell you which one is which, and we're pairing this up with how we're never going to tell you the Doctor's real name.
Well, for me, it felt like the whole idea of, is it the Zygon or is it the human? It doesn't matter. This is Moffat having his cake and eat it too. He killed off Osgood, made us all rage, but then he brought Osgood back, and then the way he's doing it...
He killed off a Osgood.
Right. But the way that she's been around and the way the explanation came out, it was like, all right, I'm not going to tell you which is which, and the way that this is going to be set up, you're never going to be able to really find out. So I still get to hurt you, but you still get your popular character back.
That's a good idea. Can we all, on a consensus, or at least are all three of you happy that Osgood is back? And did you like the device that she became in the story for the Zygon invasion?
Yeah, as annoying as the explanation for her return is, because, again, it allows it to just stay in this weird state, it's good to have her back, and she works well with the Doctor.
And Trish, how do you feel about her being the ultimate fangirl?
It's neat. I feel bad, that at the end of last night's episode, the doctor said, hey, you want to come with us? You want to come with us? And she was like, yes, I really, really want to, but I need to stay here and, protect the planet. And I was just like, really? I understand that, but the thing is, though, I don't know.
You didn't like the ending, which we'll get to the inversion in just a moment, but you didn't like the ending? We'll just say
I'm just wishing that Clara would kick off.
You just are.
We're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there. Okay, this was episode 8. Now that being said, I thought Clara was actually really good in these 2 episodes.
It was evil Clara. It was Bonnie. It was evil Zygon Clara that was good. Although Clara was better in the second half when it was her versus Bonnie.
I got a little full of rage and derp when she was all like, well, you're middle-aged. All the middle-aged people, like the world's going to end. Ha, ha, ha. I'm young and cute and pernicious and whatever. And then I was like, oh, okay, that was the evil Clara. Okay, I can accept that. But it's again, I remember we gotta curb our Clara hatred. Otherwise, the one guy on Twitter out in the wilderness, gets angry at us.
It's not just the one guy. It's the one guy, and there's also like a little bit of a fangirl thing, Patty, with like, yeah, she's assertive, and yeah, there's that segment too.
What do you guys think about Bonnie? Because in some essence, Bonnie is an image or a mirror image of the hatred that Clara has, and it's exposed into this character, into this Zygon, and how much Clara could hate if she was put in that position. What would you think about Bonnie and the hate that she had as a Zygon?
Well, first of all, I love the character of Bonnie, and kudos to Jenna Coleman to be able to play with that, especially once we get the reveal that, it's a Zygon. I thought that the character was great, and seeing Jenna Coleman do some evil smirk, that was cool.
She was really good at acting like a petulant teenager, because that's exactly what the Zygon was.
Right.
Yeah,
and the doctor kept saying
and I don't think
the child.
Yeah, and I don't think the hatred that Bonnie had, I think that was all her. I don't think any of this.
I think that was a Zygon, not necessarily.
Right. I mean, she mind linked with Clara. But I don't think any of the negativity that Bonnie showed came from Clara. This was all Bonnie. This was all her frustration.
No, I see what you're coming from, but usually the Zygon takes an imprint of the person that they're impersonating. So I kind of thought, and I actually read this somewhere, and I didn't want to say it, but somebody said when Jenna was playing Bonnie, he didn't think she was acting. So I don't know where to take with that over there. I don't know. We love you, Jenna. We totally love you, Jenna, there. And what did everybody think about the return of Kate Stewart coming into play in this story?
She needed more to do in part 1. Sending her to sit in an office in New Mexico was just wrong.
Well, again, it's set up for a switch in part 2. I like the fact that she felt confident enough to go there by herself. I appreciated that the doctor actually had the confidence in her to trust her and go on up and do that. I mean, it's kind of weird. He still craps on her a lot, but there was a weird thing about it too, where he's like, when push comes to really shove, he trusts her as much as I think he's ever trusted anybody who's not in the companion bracket.
Well, she's the Briggs daughter. She grew up sitting at the knee of Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart. So, yeah, the doctor was best friends with her dad. He knows what she was taught growing up, so he trusts her. He trusts that she can do the job.
Well, it's not only I don't think she can do the job. The doctor knows that she can do the job, but I still think he is still having that discussion that never got finished in that moment where the Brigadier has passed and the doctor, is feeling it. Now he's got the Brigadier back in the form of his daughter, and he's still having that argument that Pertwee and Courtney had in that time frame when he was at unit. So to me, the argument has never ended. It continues on into Kate, because Kate is still that reflection of the Brigadier, just embodied in her. But I do agree with Patty. I do think she's getting a little bit roughed up more than the Brigadier did, and even the Brigadier had the nerve to go back at the doctor. But Kate seems to fall back a little bit more. Am I getting that wrong impression? I'm not saying that Kate is not a strong woman, but when the doctor berates her, she doesn't come back as much.
Well, remember, Kate's not military. I mean, she was raised by a military man, but she's not military herself. So you get a different mindset. Plus, she's grown up with stories of the doctor. I mean, this would be like your idol berating you for something you did. It's kind of hard to shoot back at them.
Your idol or somebody you respect, or somebody you had to feel that you respect. Patty, what do you think of my theory? What did you think?
I can see it. I guess my whole thing is that she, for all intents and purposes, she's a modern Brigadier type of character, in the sense that the Brigadier was kind of more wrong than right by his, okay, let's shoot him, let's blow him up as it is. But by the same token, token, he was always the one trying to tell the people who were more violent than him, we should listen to the doctor. So the Brigadier was a lot like Worf from Star Trek in the sense that, it's when they needed somebody to say, let's blow him up, and like, no, let's talk about it. And then around the corner, when somebody got more violent and said, let's do this, like, no, we should listen to what the doctor says. The character narratively has always been a bit of a whipping boy. For whenever somebody needs to take up or oppose the doctor's cause for the narrative, then that's kind of his utility. Right. And that's a bit what she's become, but it's a little more sensitive. She's actually a fairly well-rounded character in the sense that she's not a dullard. Her reasons for what she does make absolute sense because at the end of the day, she is kind of looking out for the species. I mean, she was all for this peace with the Zygons until they messed around, and let's absolutely face it, this whole two-parter was a big metaphor for, you could argue, the Middle East, you could argue whatever, but it's like, oh, no, we cannot judge an entire region or people or whatever off of a few fanatics. And in the first episode, I thought we were getting beaten over the head way too much about it, but it meshed a little better in the second episode.
Well, Patty, bringing that up actually reminds me of a point that I wanted to bring up, which is the first episode, with the exception of the two creepy little girl Zygon leaders, we had no representation by that side that said they wanted peace. But in the second episode, you did have that one guy that Bonnie ambushed that the Doctor and Osgood later found kind of painfully straddling the line between Zygon form and human form. We finally had a representation by that side that said, look, I'm not interested in this. Can I just live a normal life? I don't care. I don't care. It was nice and cool, and then this woman had to come in and hit me with something that's hurting me and making me go back and forth. I just want to be left alone. We didn't get that in part one. We just got, this is an isolated thing, but we didn't get proof. We finally got proof in the second episode.
And there's I think a real world analog for that. And again, I don't want to get heavy political or whatever, but yeah, I mean, the little girls that were the Zygon leadership, you could equate that into formal leaderships of certain governments that are all like, yeah, we know that there's some guys in the hills like squawking and shooting guns, and we're going to take care of it, and thank you very much, and you can go now. And they really don't have it, and that's sort of like, whether it's national pride or just their own come up as it is. And we'll get to this doctor's speech at the end about setting aside pride and rage and everything else. But yeah, you're absolutely right, though. The guy that in the second episode, we needed to see the one that was just, look, I just want to get up in the morning, go to a job, and then come home and watch TV.
Exactly.
Trish, what do you think about Kate in the story?
I thought she was pretty badass, especially in the second episode. And I mean, it wasn't a surprise to me that it turned out to be Kate, that it wasn't a Zygon. And was anybody else surprised when they said there were 20 million Zygons living on Earth? Like from the 50th, I thought it was like maybe a couple hundred or something like that at the most. So I was totally shocked when there was 20
like rabbits.
million.
Yeah.
They're like rabbits out there.
That did kind of threw me off a little bit in the sense of, I thought, all right, we're going to talk a couple thousand, they're going to go on down. And so did they propagate that quickly, or was it just a case of, oh, no, we brought in the mothership and we stuck them all in?
I think they did mention
I think they mentioned that in Day of the Doctor, because remember, there was a Zygon-invasion and they were in those paintings.
Yeah.
Weren't they hiding them in the paintings? So we don't really know the amount of number. We saw the one painting with the one Zygon, but how many of those paintings were they sitting in? And, those things are a sliver of time. So we only see a certain part of that painting, but we don't see like what's going on in the background. So I'm using that as a device to write off what's going on and to why the Zygons have so many people in the population over there.
Again, and I think there was some mention in part one. Trish, back me up if I'm close. I seem to remember in part one there was something about kind of a younger brood or a younger batch that got created after they...
Kate was took the Doctor to the Zygon Control Center, and she was saying that, that this new brood, this new batch of Zygons, the younger ones are the ones that are causing all the problems because they weren't there for the negotiations in the 50th. So to them, what their parents, or whatever you want to call them, did by, agreeing to letting them live on Earth, but they had to disguise themselves as humans. They're like, well, we didn't have any choice in that. You guys just made it that we're going to have to live here. We weren't given a choice, and we don't want to. We want to live as ourselves. And so that's
free to be you and me.
Yeah. Yeah. Little brats not being grateful for what they have.
The beef that the younger Zygons have reminded me a lot of the series Robotech, or Macross in Japan, in the sense that you had a warlike alien race, the Zentradi, that ended up all but immigrating to Earth. They used to be like 20, 50 feet tall. Then a lot of the population got shrunk to human size. And the whole idea was, you could get away from the warlike culture, join Earth, find something other to do than fight. But you still had, that's kind of all they knew, and it was frustrating because it's like, look, I'm bored. I need direction. I can't just sit there and go for all this pop culture. I need something to do. Get me something to shoot at. I kind of find a similar thing here.
Well, let's talk about how the rules have changed for the Zygons. All of a sudden they can look into your mind and they can pull out memories and pull out people that you know. I mean, they totally tricked all those soldiers, which I thought that was actually a little bit.
I was not a fan of that scene.
Well, it's like, okay, it's one thing that she could fake. Oh well, I don't remember your name, your favorite teddy bear, but yeah, if I was dealing with shape-shifting aliens, and I asked my mom, where and when was I born? And she didn't answer. Yeah, I'm gonna, I'm gonna pull the trigger as opposed to being turned into electrified burning hair.
Yeah, the biggest problem I have for me with that scene is the doctor was going into that village in Turkish. What was the thing called? Turkmenistan? Turkmenistan, or as I like to call it, fake Countrystan, or, made-up Landostan. But, yeah, the doctor's going into that village to negotiate with the Zygons. You have Colonel kill them all and let God sort it out, basically saying, okay, the doctor and I are going to go in the back door while you guys go in the front. And when that whole situation started, why didn't the doctor just simply go to the front of the building and just put a stop to it immediately? Why did he let it go on? Why did this happen? It could have been done with. Why did we have that scene end the way it did with all those soldiers getting turned into electrified burning hair, as Patty so lovingly put it? It didn't need to happen.
Well, they wanted to show how devious and how dangerous the Zygons could be and stuff. And again, it's also a classic hallmark of Doctor Who to show that the military and soldiers are stupid.
Why didn't the doctor just simply tell Colonel Walsh, I'm putting a stop to this right now? Go over to the front, get in the middle of the soldiers and the Zygons, look at the Zygons and go, no, we're not doing this. This is not happening. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. Let it happen.
I know. Why didn't the doctor throw a couple of parachutes to the pilots of the plane?
That's a good question.
There's that too. I mean, unless
that was a big question.
Then again, who knows? The pilots may have bailed out as well, but. If you're the doctor...
No, don't pull a 7's Arc 7, Fortunately, they ejected in the last minute, yeah.
Hey, well, it's either that or I could pull a Dragon Ball Z and go, they're okay, I see their parachutes!
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. When Clara was looking through the scope, we only saw the 2 parachutes. We didn't see anything else.
I saw a blue dot. I thought that the TARDIS was on the plane. So, we were going to see the TARDIS on the beach. It was going to get on out, and it'd be him and Osgood and the guards wheeling out the Zygon. And, so, wow, it's bigger on the inside. Yeah. Anyway, we got to keep it.
All life is important unless you're just a redcoat. That's about it.
So I liked the conversation that the doctor and Osgood were having on the plane. It talks about the question marks. Apparently he wears question mark underpants.
Well.
Only you would come up with that idea. No.
I like the Doctor being the alpha in the show, obviously, because I think he's a title character. But I do prefer this. Out of all the characters that seem to have one notch above him, plot armor-wise or whatever, whether it's River Song or Clara or whatever, I think I prefer Osgood's the best, because I like the simple fact that the Doctor wants to know about which one she is, because... of course, they had to drop the hybrid thing again, heaven help us all when that finally erupts. But I kind of like the fact that they're playing around a little bit, and she won't tell him, and he really wants to know, and I like it. He kind of led to her creation, and now, yeah, she's become her own identity. She's kind of moving away from the fangirl.
have you noticed, it's not that she won't tell the Doctor, she won't tell anybody. Because Kate even asked her, and she goes, who are you? I'm me. Human or Zygon? I'm me. She won't reveal the game to anybody.
And I think that also plays on to the whole, the whole beat you over the head Unitarian message of, hey, we're all just people who think and feel, and it doesn't matter if we're white or black or have suckers or whatever,
Well, or to take another quote from the 50th, if I were you, maybe I was you. Or maybe you were me. Or maybe it doesn't matter either way.
I'm just surprised you haven't brought up the unit dating controversy back. It came head full off the diving board. Once again, we have a little nod to the controversy where she goes, once in the 70s or 80s. But we did have 2 nods to Harry Sullivan, which I like.
Yes, we did.
We did give Sullivan some props, although I love in the second episode where the Doctor says, yes, release the imbecile's gas. I see that after 8 regenerations, he's not, he hasn't changed his mind about Sullivan. Well, to wrap things up about the Zygon-invasion, Patty taking on the note, and I don't want to reveal too much because we'll talk about the Zygon-inversion after the commercial, but you like the fact that she became a little bit of the alpha male. I like that there was a mutual respect that's going to come up in the inversion right at the very end. And I thought that was very telling, not only the Doctor, but what he says to her at the very end. To me, there seemed to be this great amount of respect because she is the fangirl for the Doctor. But in turn, he's the fanboy for her, what he says at the end there. So I thought that was a great device to end.
Yeah, and that was a nice meta message. Yeah, we can get to that after the break.
When we come back, more of Dr. Disco and the Zygon-inversion when we come back. Stay tuned.
Attention all Whovians! While you're waiting for the new episode of Doctor Who, start your own adventures with a book from Mark Who 42 Books. They carry unique and rare books at affordable prices. Visit amazon.com/shops/markwho42. That's amazon.com/shops/markwho42. Mark Who 42 Books. Set your imagination free into the Whoniverse.
By the power of Grayskull, I command the Jawbridge. Open!
The Powers of Grayskull series will cover every episode of all 4 Masters of the Universe cartoons. Join Optimus Solo and myself, TF2 and Mike, as we tell tales of Eternia, discover the myths of Etheria, become masters in space, and finally Masters of Grayskull. We'll have a commentary on the Secret of the Sword film and a few other special episodes. You can find this 125-episode-long podcast in iTunes and on the web at geekcastradio.com. By the power and honor of Grayskull, we all have the power.
Hurry, Skeletor, hurry! I am hurrying, I'm hurrying!
The voice of Christian Basil, take 1.
Hi, I'm Christian Basil, and I would like to provide my voice for all your voiceover needs, such as...
Okay, like an announcer.
Like a what?
Like an announcer.
For all your voiceover needs, such as animation, radio, announcements, introductions...
Now an old man.
I can even record voicemail for all the Meshuggahs that call you.
A pirate.
Arr, and it won't cost you a lot of treasure for me services. Arr.
Creepy movie voice.
Just call 407-761-2679. 407-761-2679 or email voiceofchristianbasil@yahoo.com. Well, how was that?
That's a wrap.
Hello, this is Ian Hallard, a.k.a. Alan Adale, from the Doctor Who episode Robot of Sherwood, and you're listening to Mark Who 42.
Hello there, I'm Christian Basil. Dr. Christian Basil. That stunk. I'm never going to do that again. Anyway, welcome back.
Never do that again.
Welcome back. This time from the commercial, we're going to be talking about the Zygon-inversion. Did anybody like that little take-on gag that's like, I like, why do you have a Union Jack on your parachute? And it was like, it's for camouflage. And it's like, well, we're in Britain, right?
Cute little throwaway joke. I mean, nothing. It's just haha. Haha. Doctor Who's British. We're in London. Union Jack parachute. Haha.
Well, it's a sort of a James Bond type joke.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that whole. Well, this is internationally. This is what people think British people do all the time.
No, he would add a cup of tea on the way down as well.
He does have a tea set somewhere in that jacket of his. I mean, we saw that in the Dalek two-parter that opened the season, so, not entirely implausible.
There you go. Patty, let's talk about Zygon Bonnie and your take on her, a little bit more detailed on her, now that we've said more.
It's kind of interesting because she was the radical revolutionary. She was ready to destroy her own people and destroy the world, and damning the consequences just for her perception of injustice. And again, there are some very serious and very real-world allegories to that mindset, and I would not have forgiven her personally.
Really?
But I am not the Doctor.
Yeah,
and this is what makes the Doctor the Doctor. This is what makes the Doctor such an engaging character, because if Davros wants to be forgiven, he would give Davros that chance. He talked her off the ledge. He legitimately and truly talked her off the ledge, and without a doubt, that may have been the finest speech of Capaldi's career as the Doctor. It may have been the finest bit of acting I've ever seen from any Doctor to date.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think his whole thing was way better than any of the weird angst from the 50th episode about just how much of the war and how much it affected him and everything on else. And it was absolutely perfect. And then, of course, I screamed. We had this beautiful, wondrous cake with this final little turd of, well, thank goodness for Clara Oswald. Oh, no. And I screamed expletives, and if I had a brick, I would have thrown it on my television. I was just like, you couldn't let it go, could you, Moffat? You just had to force your little Mary Sue into it. Just, oh God, it was just, I was almost in tears. I was literally almost into, Capaldi almost brought me to tears about the importance of I forgive you, and yes, no matter what you've done here, it's like you've got to let this go. And when he talks, about the world isn't perfect. I'm sorry you got dealt with this cards, but this is what it is. And it was perfect. It was perfect for everybody in the world right now who feels like they don't have what they feel like they're supposed to have. Not so much that they're entitled, but especially right now, we're living in highly politicized times, and on both sides of the equation, nobody is happy, and everybody thinks that the world should be different for them, and they're blaming it on what the other guy has or hasn't or whatever. And I thought that speech, I think that speech needs to be played in front of the United Nations. I think it needs to be played everywhere. I think kids should see this. I thought it was a great speech, but he had to. He just had to put an awful button on it. He just had to put his little ego signature of, because at that moment it was like, yes, this is the Doctor. This is this space god. This is the being who has seen, even before the Time War, he has seen the horrors of war, and he's seen the cycle over and over again, not just with humans, but with myriads of sentient races, and he has seen what the universe and its totality could have been, a wonderful, beautiful thing, and he's seen it destroyed by war and aggression, and this wonderful speech he gives, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And Moffat had to insert his Mary Sue. Damn it!
Could you two imagine Patty jumping through the screen into the scene and pushing the button on the boxes just to see, okay, which one of these kills you, Clara?
Patrick, first of all, take a breath, man. Take a breath. Take a breath.
I want to gas the turn Clara Oswald inside out.
Breathe in.
No. Don't stop him. I'm right there with him.
Well, no.
All right, hang on, Ed. Let's hold it right there because we just jumped to the ending. I want to get through the episode there. Speaking of Clara, what I've called Clara mind meld. What did you guys think of the scene between Bonnie and Clara as far as that going on over there?
All that stuff was brilliant. All that the dream sequence and things not being right, and the metaphor of seeing it through the television, and this is toothpaste. I thought all that stuff was fantastic. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. And again, Clara's character was great in that. Clara's character of and by herself was absolutely great in this episode. And she did a great job of playing both sides, the good and the evil and everything on else. My ire is just with Moffat at the very end. And I just want to make a little disclaimer, because again, Mr. Angry Poopy Pants on Twitter is probably going to be flaming me after this episode, but that's okay.
It's fine. It's like, here, Patty, I'm giving you a virtual hug. It's okay. It's okay.
Trish, what do you think about the mind-melding Claras?
I thought it was really well done, too. Like when Clara was like, yeah, you can ask me whatever you want, but I'm a brilliant liar. And it's like, yes, we know. We know. But the way how she trapped Clara, well, our hearts are linked. I'll know if you're lying, so either tell me the truth or I'm going to kill you.
Device. Yeah, I absolutely thought that was a wonderful device between the two.
For me, it worked really well because there's Clara in the pod. They could have just pulled out some sort of sci-fi weirdness, with like a little tendril drilling into her head or something. But instead, it was just something as simple as, well, we're linked. I can feel your heartbeat. So, I'll know you're lying. Just very simply executed, and I loved it.
Is this how they interrogate all the people that they copy?
I'm going to say probably not, only because I doubt that all the people they copy is as obstinate as Clara or has that sort of force of will. I'm sure that if they were interrogating somebody like a regular Joe Schmo that got taken on the street, he'd probably be like, you can't get me to tell anything. And then all they'd be like, oh, really? What if I take all the air out of the pod? All right, fine, I'll talk. I'm sure they don't have to go to that extreme with the fingers on the pulse.
One of the things I thought was a very powerful scene, I don't think, maybe I'm a minority on this, but one of the most powerful scenes I've seen. There's quite a few, actually, between the two episodes, but the one where Bonnie changes one of the Zygons back and gets recorded, and the scene where the Doctor and Osgood are confronting him, and having to feel that tension, like, I just want to live. I just want to live here, and that's it. I could care less about anything else, about wars or anything. I just want to live here. Ed, what do you think about that scene?
I already went on record saying it was a great scene, and it showed a piece that was missing in part one, which is the Zygons that are just like, look, man, I just want to live here. I just want to do a 9 to 5. That was a powerful scene, and it did, more than anything, it did show one of the costs of war, especially when it comes to civilians. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter what country. Everybody gets in on the whole rah, 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 we want our side to win. But when it gets close to home, when it starts to affect you personally, then you get that sense of, I didn't sign up for this. I'm not one of those who makes it their job to do this. Why am I getting pulled into this? I just want to leave. I just have a 9 to 5 job. I just want to go there, do the stuff that I get paid to do, come home, watch TV, eat junk food, yell at the TV. Why? Why am I getting dragged into this? What did I do to deserve this?
Trish, what do you think?
It's hard for me to think of something to say that hasn't already been said.
Okay, so pretty much we agree about all around. It is a very emotional scene, and it is a telling of the kind of the war scars. For the people who are not in the battle.
Exactly. And it made me want to just reach through the screen and give the Doctor a big hug. You know what I mean? Because it was just like, oh, I feel so bad for him. To think he tries so hard just to, keep all of that in, not let it out. And it was really close to spilling all out there. You could see it. He had to rein it back in. You could, even at one point, you could hear that he was actually kind of close to tears. And it was just like, wow, I think that's the closest I've seen him get to that before. I actually had to hold back the tears myself when he was giving that great speech.
Since Patty already mentioned his feelings about the ending of the show and the fight between the Black Archives, and one of the most powerful things, not only I think the speech, I got to agree with Patty, I think it's, if not one of the most powerful speeches in the series, let alone probably the entire encompassing 52 years the show is about to be on. Which actually, it's coming up to year 52 at the end of this month. That Capaldi, and it to me, correct me if I'm wrong, Patty, I think only Capaldi could have given this speech.
I look forward to conventions when people hand former doctors a transcript of this, like the Pandorica.
Yes,
and I would very much like to see the other actors, living actors, take a crack at that speech.
You know what, Christian? I'm going to throw my hat in here. I can think of a doctor who probably could pull that speech off. In fact, as we talk about war scars and and how the Doctor feels about this, I can think of the perfect other doctor who probably could have pulled this off. And let's see if you're doing a Zygon mind link with me. I think 9 could have pulled it off. There probably would have been a touch more anger in there because since he's the closest to the Time War, the PTSD would have been more fresh. But I think he could have had a speech like that. I think the only change would have been he still would have been a little bit more angry. With the 12th Doctor, the anger is not as fresh. But as far as 9 is concerned, he could have done that speech. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm thinking, I can see where you're coming from. 9 could have done it if he was 12. But 12 was the one who, I mean, there was a relationship about him pressing the moment. He was in this position before. Now he's put those two in that position. And I just don't know why. I mean, they could have done it, but I think 12 would have been the most spectacular person. He has the whitey eye stare. He's got the hair going. And even moments where the camera is coming up and looking at Capaldi, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I felt like I did something wrong. Just watching him.
There's definitely a chicken and the egg sort of thing where you talk about. Well, this way. I think I would love to see other doctors do on it. I think this scene, the writing staff now, they've got a really good handle on what Capaldi's doctor is and what Capaldi can do with it. They are now, I believe, really starting to write towards his strengths and his potential. And I think this speech is very indicative of that. I think it was very much so that, okay, we know Peter can definitely sell this. It's odd, too, because I haven't seen too many people really on the fan sites talking about this episode as much as I think they should be. I think that speech at the end was extremely seminal, and I think people are going to realize a while from now that, wow, we may have seen Capaldi's Nadir.
You know what? Honestly, I'm going to throw this down right now. We always hear about Doctor Who getting nominated for awards. I'm sorry, but Peter Capaldi deserves at the very least, at the absolute least, a nomination for this moment alone. I mean,
absolutely.
I don't know. Am I wrong?
I totally agree.
Yeah. Here's the thing. The thing that caught me about the speech, especially when he's confronting Bonnie and he's like, what do you want? And she's just like, I want war. It reminded me a lot of, and this is directed more at Patty, since Patty, you're kind of my fellow comic geek. You've read Squadron Supreme, right?
Yes.
By Gruno? Okay, see if you can feel me on this one. The Doctor talking to Bonnie, especially when he's like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when people like you show up, the troublemakers? What are you going to do? It reminded me a lot of Nighthawk talking to Hyperion about the problems with the Utopia program in that comic.
Yes.
They said about the fact that you had the main characters in this comic set about to change the world, to fix everything, to make Utopia. But Nighthawk's argument was, okay, let's say this works. Let's say you create peace on Earth, everything's all cool. How is it supposed to sustain itself? How is this supposed to last? Because in order for it to happen, it needs to have somebody just like you controlling it. And how can you guarantee that? Same thing here. Okay, let's say Bonnie wins. Let's say all the traitors are dead. Let's say the Zygons get Earth. What happens when you have somebody who's exactly like Bonnie, who just looks at this and goes, you know what? I don't like this. I want it to be different, and I want it now. And you're going to give it to me or somebody dies. What is going to happen? How is she going to handle it? One of the big points of the Doctor's speech, especially when she's talking to Bonnie, when does it stop? When does the circle stop?
And everybody just all ends up sitting down and talking it out anyway.
Well, especially...
I love that line, that little thing he does, is it doesn't matter because everybody just ends up sitting at the table talking anyway. Why can't we just go straight to that?
And it's one of those things that, the Doctor's speech, one of the great things about it is you end up nodding your head and going, you know what? Yeah, why can't we just skip to the end and skip to that point? Why does it have to be the hitting and the shooting and the beatings and the, why do we have to have that before we get down to the, okay, let's see if we can hammer something out? And especially because he even tosses it like, she goes, no, I'm not going to be, why should it be me? It's like, well, the bigger question is, why not?
Have you ever tried to reason with a child? Have you ever tried to reason with a teenager?
No, she's not a child.
Yeah.
She's not a child. She is a grown-up revolutionary. And I never looked at her as being like a petulant brat who didn't get wanted an iPhone and got an Android. I looked at her as one of the disenfranchised who, in various parts of the world that are like, hey, over there they've got this. Why don't we have this over here? Or just they look around, they get an age, and they feel like they've been cheated. And yes, to the Doctor's point of view, that is acting like a petulant child. But I think from our point of view, that's somebody who's angry at the world and doesn't even care but wants to burn. They're just pissed off that they don't have what they think they deserve.
What was great was the Doctor's counter of, my TARDIS doesn't work. I don't have a tailor. Life is not fair. And also kind of calling out on, okay, you got dealt a bad hand, but then your response is to be as bad as the people you think are doing this to you? Where's the logic in that? Like, how are you supposed to get what you want if your response is, well, somebody hit me, so I'm going to hit back.
Yeah, not to get too introspective, but I mean, this episode was interesting because, again, it's like, okay, that's not what I want to do. Yes, my attitude is, all right, find the Sullivan gas, let's turn all these bastards inside out and be done with it, which I'm surprised we didn't see at least one of them do it. I really thought that at the end, she wasn't going to get talked down. She was going to push the button, and then the gas was going to spray her, and then, the doctor would say, well, Sullivan may have been an imbecile, but I was hoping he never uses gas or whatever. The point is the doctor takes the high road, which I believe in. I don't necessarily want it myself, but again, that it's the same deal about, okay, eventually we all got to sort of swallow our pride. And again, Briggs' daughter, she closed the lid. She's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to walk away from this.
Well, see, this is the thing. I mean, it was mentioned earlier, somebody here has already said they wouldn't have forgiven her. I wouldn't have either, but that's kind of the point.
Exactly.
One of the things is to kind of put it into the real world. One of the things about some of the conflicts in the world is that the start of it was just so long ago that it's been lost, that the exact details have been lost. All anybody from either side knows is somebody did somebody wrong and it cannot stand. Well, the thing is that eventually at some point somebody has to just be the one to finally decide, okay, stop.
But it was not only that. The doctor was a guy. Remember, if you really put, let's just say we have Nazi Germany and the Americas, and we have the president and we have the dictator. When you take out all the weapons, all the armies, all the gas, all the things that create the war, which the doctor did because they realized they were empty boxes. What have you got left on the table but these two? And they're going to have to eventually talk.
You don't even need the dictator and the president. You just
I just gave that as an example. It could be any two leaders
exactly.
who have
or even you don't even need two leaders. You just need two people that are in the middle of this, that have been taught this, and just say, well, isn't there a B? Can't there be a plan B? Can't there be something where, you know what, do we have to keep this going? Where does it end? Because it even gets worse, because let's say you take the originators off the table. They're gone. They're dead. If this whole thing perpetuates, this whole idea of she did him wrong or he did her wrong, so we got to do wrong back to them, there has to be a point where you go, why? Why don't we just do something different?
Why can't we all get along and wear question mark underwear?
Well, yeah, basically, because this is the thing. There is no, because that's the thing.
Where did you buy them?
Amazon.
Unless somebody does make that decision to stop, then it's never going to stop, because the next person is going to go, I got to keep this going because something happened with this person and I got to pick up the mantle. Somebody has to put the end.
And I got to go with you, Patty, on that one. I went a little bit on the internet, and a lot of people were saying, why aren't we taking this little segment of the show, sending it to the UN, to our president, to everybody in the country?
Oh,
just look at that segment. And this is not the first time that the doctor, I think, asked somebody what happens after. I could have sworn in School Reunion there was a scene like that, but it wasn't as punctuated as it was in this episode. I know a lot of you probably haven't heard of the Holy Terror, but here's a great example of it in another scene. The Sixth Doctor is confronted with a child who believes it's a deity and its father. And then the Sixth Doctor goes, okay, what are you going to do next? And he goes, I'm going to kill. He goes, and then after that, I'm going to kill everyone. And then goes, what after that? There's nothing else. I'm just going to kill. And then the father realizes, well, you can't run a place and be a deity if you're going to kill everybody. So the child was the box, and Kate and Bonnie were the father. They had to step back and look and, I've got this weapon, but what's it for? What am I doing? We just want to take over the place, but I didn't want to do this. When you finally realize and see what's going on and what's at stake and what's to lose, is it really worth it in the end? And all they had were empty boxes.
Well, how did you feel about Bonnie becoming another Osgood?
I think that was quite brilliant because I like the Osgood twins. I think a lot of female fans have really well received towards her. And I like the fact that her becoming the new Osgood is kind of her path to redemption. And I like that they share a hive mind. And I look forward to seeing that character in the future very much.
Okay, on a quick note, 1 to 10, 1 being god-awful, 10 being the best. Trish, start me off. What do you rate this episode?
I'll give it a 9.
Give it a 9. I should say both episodes. So 9. Patty, what would you rate the 2 episodes?
Together, I'll give it an 8. -2 for Clara.
Heal, Patrick, heal.
What's a happy ending?
Down. Part 1, I'd give an 8. Part 2, I'd give a 9. Combined, I'd give it about 9.5.
Combined, I would probably give it an 8.5, with 8.5 being specifically on the first episode I had to split, and 9 being on the second episode with that dramatic ending, that wonderful ending. And hey, if anybody wants to put this on YouTube and send it to your leader of your country or something like that, by all means, help yourself. Maybe the world will be at a better place. On that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up our review for the Zygon-invasion and the Zygon-inversion.
And all you Capaldi cosplayers out there, I'll be asking to see your underwear from this point going forward, so be ready.
Oh, thank God you're not going to be at Wizard World Reno on Saturday then, because I'll be cosplaying as Capaldi.
I better see some question marks on those unmentionables there, son.
You're not the one who would get to see question marks on my unmentionables, Patty. Sorry.
You got to go to the bathroom sometime, Ed.
Yeah, well, that's how I use a stall. Anyway.
Any of those question marks are you just happy to see?
All right, those of you that anybody gonna be at MegaCon Fan Days, I'll be in the bathroom waiting for Capaldi cosplayers to check your underwear.
And just remember, folks, it's not the size of the question mark; it's where it's placed on the underwear.
If you're ever in an accident, I hope to goodness you're wearing question mark underwear.
God.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for doing that review. I'm glad we liked the episode. I love the episodes. I thought it was great. And Patrick, it wasn't a matter of like little aperitifs along the way, little hors d'oeuvres. It was the full story you liked?
Yes. This definitely turned a corner of, yes, the parts did lead to a greater sum, which I enjoyed. That was my
I'm glad we finally have a story that you could enjoy fully in this season.
Well, I would say fully.
Well, okay,
but...
I know. You just did 8.5 or something.
I know.
So it wasn't fully. And actually, did you notice that Moffat co-wrote the second part?
Yes, that explains the reason why it gets an 8 and not a 10.
Other than the call out to Clara in the doctor's speech, I couldn't tell what was a Moffat moment and what was the other writer. So for me, that's another plus.
You're listening to Mark Who 42 on Krypton Radio, and we are now going to talk about 2 events that are coming up in the next week. It's next week will be Wizard World Reno and MegaCon Fan Days in Orlando, Florida. And they are both coming up on the weekend of the 21st and 22nd of November. I think Wizard World is also on the 20th.
There's also going to be a little event on the 19th, but that's press only. So
wow, that's cool. So
yeah, I'm going to be there. Sorry, folks. Sorry you can't come with me, but I'm going to try and take some nice pictures.
Well, that's good. Put them up on the site.
Yeah, they'll be up on the site. They'll be up on Facebook.
And these conventions are, well, Mark Who 42 will be attending both. Now, tell us a little about Wizard World, if you will.
Wizard World starts officially on the 20th. It runs through the 22nd. Mark Who 42 is going to be there. We do have a panel. The subject being Trish.
The subject being Trish? No, Trish is going to be the subject of the panel?
Yes, it's about Trish.
Wow, Trish, you've come a long way.
It's going to be all about Trish because we're talking about
the women of Doctor Who.
Oh, okay. Cool. That's good. I like that. Who are the guests at this convention? Who's going to be there besides Mark Who 42's Reno contingent?
Well, hey, I know that in addition to Trish and I being on the panel, we are bringing with us Paige DePaulo, who did our panel last year. It's going to be moderated by Michael Ford of Great Basin Geeks, and we even have a special guest panelist. You probably know this already if you've been to the website, but you know what? We're going to pump her anyway. Iggy Matthews is going to be joining us for the panel.
Let's be reals.
Let's be reals. In fact, you know what? Since she's gracious enough to be on our panel, Trish and I are going to be on her panel. She's going to be having a Let's Be Reals panel called Keeping It Reals. Trish and I are going to do that with her.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, Saturday you're going to get a double dose.
But if you wanted to know celebrities that are going to be at Wizard World, unfortunately, no Doctor Who guests this year, which that makes me sad. I know you guys are lucky on the East Coast.
We do have some pop culture icons, though.
Like who?
We have Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to be for the entire convention, but they are going to be doing a one-night-only Jay and Silent Bob Get Old.
So they're doing a podcast recording?
Yes. They're going to be doing the recording of Jay and Silent Bob Get Old. We do have Brent Spiner from Star Trek The Next Generation. Data's going to be there. there.
And Adam West and Burt Ward.
And hey, for those of you who are heavy into Midnight Madness at the cinema, Barry Boswick from Rocky Horror Picture Show is going to be there.
Oh, wow.
Although, truth be told, I want to see if I can get a chance to talk to him because I want to see if he still remembers Megaforce.
Megaforce.
I just saw him at Spooky Empire this past weekend, and he looked great.
There you go. And actually also for sitcom fans, Jodie Sweetin from Full House is going to be there. And as far as awesome movies are concerned, Mina Savari, who turned quite a few heads for her performance in American Beauty, she's going to be there. And as far as comic book fans are concerned, we're going to have Jim Shooter, the editor-in-chief of Marvel for its renaissance in the 80s. He's there. Neil Adams is going to be there. Artist Mike Zeck. So there's going to be a lot of celebs there.
Okay.
Mike Zeck is like seeing, Bigfoot. He pretty much retired from convention work for almost 15 years, and just this past year he's been coaxed out doing conventions again. So that's
take advantage.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely take advantage.
So that's on the West Coast next weekend. But on the East Coast in Orlando, Florida, is MegaCon Fan Days, a spin-off convention of MegaCon that is starting this year. And it's going to be fun, and I'm going to be there. Christian's going to be there. Patty, you're going to be there.
Yes.
We're bringing Kayla along. Kayla is someone who's going to help us. We've got special guests coming to this convention. We've got Jason Isaacs, who was in Harry Potter, of course. He was also in a TV show that came out this year that I loved called Dig. Sean Astin's going to be there. John Rhys-Davies is going to be there. Sean Maher from Firefly is going to be there. Karen Allen is going to be there as well from Indiana Jones. And if I remember, a little movie called Starman.
And don't forget Animal House.
Animal House. Oh,
Animal House.
Yes, she was.
And Scrooged.
And this convention has some Doctor Who guests. Yes, it does. First of all, it's got us, Mark Who 42. We're running a lot of panels, but we're also going to be running the match game. If you remember the show from the 70s and 80s, you can see it on Game Show Network as well. It starred Gene Rayburn and a panel of 6 celebrities, and people had to fill in the blank. In England, it was called Blankety Blank, so you may know it from that if you're listening to us from overseas. And it's going to be fun. You are going to be Gene Rayburn, aren't you, Patty?
Yes. I'm going to see if I can find a telescoping
we need the
microphone.
telescoping microphone. We do.
Need the telescoping microphone. But yes, I'll be doing the hosting duties on that. We're going to have some fun with that. We're going to run some great panels. And at the end of the night...
be there. Tell the other guests.
Actually, before you keep going, I have a question. Which one of you is going to be Charles Nelson Riley?
Actually, I was Brett Summers last time, so let's not even go there. But the real Doctor Who guests, the real celebrities, like I said earlier in the program, Paul McGann is going to be there. And from Buffy, Angel, and Torchwood, James Marsters.
Yep.
So it's going to be a great convention at the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida on November 21st and 22nd. We got comic guests coming too. George Perez is going to be there. Jimmy Palmiotti is going to be there. Who else?
I actually have met George Perez twice. He did a signing at a comic shop in Broward, and I also met him. He did one of the Supercons. Great guy. I think what I got a really big kick out of is watching him actually escape his booth and just take pictures. I still remember that there were people who were cosplaying his run of Teen Titans, including this girl who had an awesome Speedy costume. I got a picture of her, and then I ran into George Perez, and I'm like, "Did you find the Speedy cosplayer? There's somebody cosplaying as Speedy," and he's just beaming, and he's like, "Yeah, I found her."
The lovely Amanda Connor will be there too. And if you read Harley Quinn, or if you used to read Power Girl, oh yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
Well, her and her husband Jimmy, they're pretty much Comicdom's power couple
and
now.
They do usually come to conventions together, and they are.
They really are, and they are genuinely nice. They're genuinely incredibly friendly. They're genuinely encouraging. If you walk up there with art, they will give you some quick notes about how to improve it or whatever. They'll talk to you about anything as long as there's nobody behind you waiting to talk to them. And,
I met them a few years ago at the Miami International International Book Fair one November a couple of years ago, and they were great. So you're going to love these conventions. Come to both of them. The links are on the site. We'll post them on the posting of this show to get tickets. And if you look on the right side of the page on your tablet or computer, you can click on the links that are there. If you have an iPhone or Android, you won't be able to see those links because the mobile version cuts them out. Speaking of the website, I have some news. First of all, we've got a new features writer. He's going to be writing features for our website about Doctor Who. He's writing one right now about Paul McGann, interestingly enough. John Reed Adams will be our new features writer. And starting November 23rd, the day after both of these conventions, we have a new webpage editor. Her name is Catherine Grimes-Bostic. She is going to steer us into the next regeneration of Mark Who 42.
Cool. Very cool. Can't wait to work with her.
Yes, definitely. So I just wanted to mention that. Don't forget, go to our Facebook page, Mark Who 42. Tweet us at Mark Who 42. Listen to us. We're on Krypton Radio. Listen to us on iTunes, on Stitcher Radio, on TuneIn. We're on, I think it's called Blueberry. We're on so many different podcast RSS feeds. You can definitely go to our site, markwho42.net, get the latest news and our podcast there. You can download them. You can listen to old episodes all over the place. Big Finish says at the end of every advertisement, Big Finish, we love good stories. Well, you know what? Mark Who 42, we love good listeners. So until next week, what can we say?
Well, it sounds like you just compared our listeners to like a pet that's behaved. Who's a good listener? Who's a good listener? Who's a good listener? You're a good listener.
If
yes,
you have any
you are.
complaints
Yes,
about
you
what
are.
I did not just infer, please write it to mark@markwho42.net. In fact, any email you want to send us, mark@markwho42.net, gets it to us. Well, that's our show. Until next time, because no one else said it, allons-y.
Real quick, MegaCon Fan Days at the end of the day Saturday. If you're not sick of hearing me talk, and I will be performing with the Geeks of Comedy at MegaCon Fan Days. And if you think I am acidic and rancorous on this show, you have seen nothing until you see my stand-up.
Yes, it is an adults-only show, so if you go to Geeks of Comedy, be prepared.
I will not take any responsibility for ruining your childhood after the show is done.
And he will.
Michael Bay already did that. Thank you.
Yes.
Everyone.
You must not watch this. You can never unsee it.
24 hours ago, this station fell silent. We've come to find out why. What are these?
Morpheus. What is Morpheus?
The Morpheus machine concentrates the whole nocturnal experience. Now you can go a whole month without sleep.
Time is money.
Congratulations, Professor. You've conquered nature. You've also created an abomination. You
can't stop them. None of us can.
Written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Trish-helm, Christian Basil, Patty-Hawkins, and Eduardo-m-Freyre. This show was edited, produced, and directed by Mark Baumgarten. Please visit markwho42.net and register to join and be a part of the Whoniverse Army. We can be contacted by email at mark@markwho42.net with the subject line ? If you have worked on Doctor Who or are working on a project relating to Doctor Who and want to be on our radio show, please email our media relations director, Christian Basil, at markwho42media@yahoo.com. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. This show is owned and copyrighted by Mark Baumgarten 2015. You're listening to Krypton Radio.